Hey everybody. Here we are with the chapter 17 muddiest points. Finally, hopefully my computer will work for this. But one of the things you guys selected that, selection, natural selection, I just made myself laugh. Moving along, one of the things that you guys, let me get my full thing here, selected was this idea of social Darwinism. This is going to be really important for a lot of really a good chunk of the rest of our class as we get into the 20th century. In short, it's the idea that's messed up that the strongest races and nations prevail over weaker ones. Based on, Darwin's idea. I think it talks in the book about his first book, The Origin of Species, which doesn't actually address man and the origin of man. But after that, a few years later, he has a book called The Descent of Man that talks about kind of this evolution. But he's applying this to all of mankind, still a debated theory today. But he has the survival of the fittest. And so what social Darwinists, who are messed up people, do, kind of trying to justify racism in a way and sexism, is they are saying, okay, the strongest races and nations, as in people groups, not a country. A nation is a people group, like the Cherokee Nation, Navajo Nation. We have different nations within the United States who live here, but a people group with a common culture, language, history. Darwin's talking about the survival of the fittest as far as the weaker are going to be weeded out. And people start to apply this to humankind and say, okay, the stronger people are going to be weeded out. So in that case, you can just say, well, it's just natural selection. And it's just nature that if they can't defend themselves, then, we shouldn't feel bad. So, like it talks about, it's going to affect a lot of African Americans. It's going to affect, it all leads to eugenics. I'm going to put this because it's clearly not a science. The science of, science of we'll say of improved okay, so this controlled breeding. Alexander Graham Bell, who's in that funny Geico commercial, was a person who supported limitations on immigration, not because he thought that there were too many people in the U.S. or something, but that there might be a worse situation if there was a mix, if people from Anglo-Saxon or Western European backgrounds mixed with inferior people. And so this comes up quite a bit. They have eugenics, and it's going to affect, if you're looking at this idea of, well, we may as well, it's just nature that the weaker people be rooted out. It gets to Nazi Germany. There's this famous poster here, or I guess I didn't pull up the image, but you can read the whole thing. There it is on Nazi eugenics. But this thing that always really affects me is you've got this guy who clearly has some disabilities, mental and physical, and it's saying it cost 60,000, I guess it's Reichsmarks in Germany to keep that guy alive. It's not worth it. One thing a lot of people don't realize in the United States that's really bad is that there were compulsory sterilizations in the United States well into the 20th century. Often people with mental disabilities, where the state, South Carolina isn't, let's see if I can move this over, 277 people, most are women, and the state decides, we don't want that person having children because they're going to weaken the gene pool. North Carolina, my home state, this is terrible. Over 8,000 victims of sterilization by the state government. State saying that person does not need to have children. And you can still find like some court cases. North Carolina apologized for this a few years ago, but this is late happening stuff. I mean, through 1973, the United States were having these forced sterilizations. So a lot of dangers emerge there, as you're saying, well, if a person is biologically weaker, if that's because of skin color and national background, then, if it's because of mental and physical disabilities, then so be it. We shouldn't feel bad about that. So it's a theory that is dangerous stuff. Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood and kind of the first advocate for birth control, specifically talked about weeding out the unfit. So it's something that is, again, just sick stuff that's happening well into the 20th century. But you can see kind of the lesser effects as far as justifying racism, and then the more serious effects, even when we get to Nazi Germany, Hitler having Jews killed because he thinks they're an inferior ethnic group. It's not because he hates he doesn't like the religion of Judaism, but he views the Jews as a culturally unfit ethnic group. And same with other ethnic groups who will be killed in the Nazi Holocaust. So terrible, terrible stuff, but an important concept to understand.